Jesus has a table spread where the saints of God are fed. He invites his chosen people to come and dine. With his manna he does feed and supplies our every need. Oh, to seek to sup with Jesus all the time. The disciples came to bed, thus obeying Christ's command. For the Master called to them to come and dine. There they found their heart's desire, bread and fish upon the fire, just to satisfy their hunger every time. Soon the Lamb will take his bride to be ever at his side. All the host of heaven will assemble be. Oh, 'twill be a glorious sight. All the saints in spotless white, and with Jesus they will feast eternally. Oh, come and dine, the Master's calling, come and dine, come and dine. You may feast at Jesus' table all the time. Come and dine. He who fed the multitude, turning water into wine. To the hungry call it now, come and dine.
Greetings, saints and friends. You are now in tune with the original Apostolic Faith Church of the Lord Jesus Christ Incorporated, where the Honorable Bishop E. W. Tooks is pastor and general overseer. You will hear spiritual edification of truth for the benefit and saving of all humanity. At this time, we have a selection by the Apostolic Faith group entitled Without Controversy.
Without controversy, great is the great is the mystery of godliness. God was manifest in the flesh, so that we could enter into his role now with great is the great is the mystery of godliness. God was manifest in the flesh, so that we could enter into his role now without controversy. Great is the great is the mystery of godliness. God was manifested in the flesh, so that we could enter into him who only has immortality, which no man can see. No man can approach unto, because it is immortality. Who only has immortality, which no man can see. No man can approach unto, because it is immortality. Who only has immortality, which no man can see. No man can approach unto, because it is immortality. Roll now with without controversy. Great is the mystery of God. the great, is the mystery of God. How was man at first in the flesh, so that we could enter to it. Well, now with the great is the great, is the mystery of God. God was a man upstairs in the flesh, so that we could enter into his rest. Thank you.
We thank the Apostolic Faith Group for that grateful selection entitled Without Controversy.
Yeah.
At this time, I present unto you the preacher of this evening time, Bishop E.W. Tooks. Hear ye him. Thank you very much.
And we will always rather it be without, as the hymns say, controversy. Because when truth is preached in its fullness, all the people can do, if they would, is obey it. See, that's why God raised up a man or raised up men for people to hear and let it be some doing. Be not hearers only. There are too many people been hearing me too long. Now, the Lord is not going to wait forever on you to get yourself together. See, and God said that he would not always strive with man. See, man is stubborn and man is self-willed and man wanted like he wanted. It's not in him to obey the word. And when they hear truth, they labor to condemn it. They tune in to this broadcast, hoping they can find something to condemn me on. My gospel has been so perfect. And I have such a defense. Now, my defense never changed. See, people change, but I started off with a biblical defense. So we'd rather it be without controversy. I am not the fussing preacher. See, they call me all kind of names. I am not the contentious preacher. I'd rather it not be that. See, but I have to earnestly contend, and I will always do that. I must earnestly contend. I never get so nice that I won't contend. I'll have all kind of patience with you. If you really want to do this thing, to do truth, I'll explain things to you and I'll try to show you. I've done this in times past. And I'll even pray that God will open your eyes. Elijah said, open the young man's eyes that he might see. I pray that God will open your eyes. But one of the worst mistakes you can make is come against me with what you think is right. See, now, in order to preach this, you must be called of God. Now, you can't do it unless God calls you. See, a lot of men out there, people think they are called. And the reason why they think they are called is because the people don't know. And if you don't know, you don't know. I was in a little township some years ago, and there was some young men jacking a car up. Now, they didn't know where to put the jack. And I was sort of unwilling to say anything, being in those little townships. I didn't know which way it would have gone, but they had the jack on the gas tank. Now, what was going to happen to the gas tank? The jack was going right through the tank, because the tank is not designed to put a jack on, to hold the weight of the vehicle. See, so they didn't know where to put the jack. Now, there's no need pretending that you know. You either know doctrine, sound doctrine when you hear it, or you don't know. Is that right? Now, by you claiming you know, it doesn't make you know. You could be reading for a man while he's preaching. And he's preaching false doctrine, and you don't know anything about the subject that he's preaching on. I remember years ago, I read for a man a little bit. He asked me, he wanted me to read. And I went out to hear him to see what he had. And I read for him. And when he was preaching on faith. And when he got where Jesus was speaking about the lilies of the field, where Jesus said, they toil not, the lilies, they toil not, neither do they spin, S-P-I-N, neither do they spin. In other words, God clothes them. They don't have to work, and God clothes them. And he did a wonderful job. And when this brother got to that, he attempted to open that up. He said, well, the lilies don't have to work, and neither do they spend any money. I said, wait a minute. Wait. I knew that wasn't right. So I had to talk with him after service. I didn't disrupt the service, but I had to talk with him after service, because I knew that he was no more called than a rabbit. See, but see, I knew that he was wrong. See, he thought he was right. That word is S-P-I-N, not S-P-E-N-D. So people are reading for men, and men are preaching false doctrine while they are reading. Do they know the difference? No. And if you don't know, you just don't know. I am trying to open your stubborn, self-will, and rebellious eyes, if I can. And I will continue to try to do it, labor to do it. Then my job is done. See, because I am told to preach the word. The Lord called me. I didn't go out and get ordained by men. They want to condemn me on that, but they can't. God doesn't call nobody but apostles. That's your mouth. But the Bible doesn't teach that. So you can tell that to people who don't know. In fact, get me Ephesians 4 and drop down to verse 10. And let's start reading a little bit here now.
Ephesians, the 4th chapter,
Read
verse
some
10.
Bible.
He that descended is the same also that ascended up far above the heaven.
Now the Apostle Paul, writing to the Ephesian church, Ephesians 4:10. And he said, he that descended, he that came down, is the same also that he that descended, one that came down, same also that ascended. Have we got it right? He descended first, then he ascended next. Came down first, and put on a body, and did the work that was ordained for that body, the Son of God, to do. And then the Son of God died. And that was the end of the Son. When everybody's son die, that's the end of that son. That's it. No need, you might want him back, but that's the end. And the centurion said, truly this was. They don't like for me to say was, because they believe it is a Son of God. So let me open the thing up now, pick it apart. That's why I'm sent to do this. All right, he came down with one nature, divine, spiritual. Came down a spirit, and that spirit chose a woman, a virgin that never knew a man, and conceived in her. He made a body in her body, and got in that body, and was born God with us. That's it. He was otherwise he was manifested in the flesh. See. So that's it. So that was God down here on earth with a body on. He was in the world. The world was made by him, and the world knew him not. They didn't know him then. They don't know him now. They don't have the revelation. So they're saying anything and all kind of things. Then when he pulled that, he pulled off the natural, turn it to a quickening spirit. That's it. And he had, when he did that, he had immortality. That's why the little hymn said, who only hath immortality. See, immortality is invisible. So he came down with one nature spirit, went back with one nature. Amen. Said, well, they saw him go back. I know that. He manifested himself so they could see him. See, they had to preach that he ascended. And if he had stayed in the immortal state, they wouldn't, and went back, they wouldn't have been looking to see who was going. They couldn't see nobody. No, nobody can see immortality. So he had to manifest himself so they could see him going up. And they looked at him going up, and the cloud received him out of the sight. So they were able to preach that he went up. That was good. Read me some more.
Ephesians, the 4th chapter, verse 10. He that descended is the same also that ascended up far above all heaven.
Same one.
That he might fill all things.
Yes.
Ephesians, the 4th chapter, verse 11. And he gave some apostles.
And he gave some, this is interesting. He gave some apostles. You can't be an apostle unless God, unless he does the giving. All these men you hear are phony apostles. I say, and I see it and been saying for years. I didn't just start saying this here. I think we've been on this station about 21 years. And I've been saying this ever since we've been on it. There are no apostles now. They are phony, fictitious, and they're not even called of God. That's it. Only man I knew that was called of God is the one that preached me in the truth. Preached me out of darkness into this marvelous light. And that was the true apostle when he was among us, Bishop S.C. Johnson. That's the only man I ever heard preach the truth. All the rest are religious phonies. And Bishop said when he was here that in all of his ministry, he never met a preacher. That's it. And he said none of the elders were called. And I believed him then, I believe him now. I am saying all of my ministry, I haven't met a preacher. A lot of men making speeches, but they're not preachers. Because it's diluted with error. And you might hear some of their errors on this broadcast. Because I didn't finish it, I have some more time. I mean, if I have more time, I'm going to utter more words. They're religious phonies. They get ordained by false prophets. All right. They get a little bit of work. And something tells them they can become apostles by works. And some might even claim to raise the dead. And they think raising the dead make them apostle or an apostle. Now, none of the apostles had to raise the dead. They were all apostles before they did any work. Now, let me say that again. It sounds so good to me to make me want to say it twice. I want to recap. All the apostles were apostles. The Lord didn't tell Peter, James, and John, say, I desire to make you apostles, but you didn't do any work yet. He didn't tell them that. They were apostles before they did any work. Apostle Paul was an apostle before he did any work. Now, this is not by works. That's why no man can put his 2 cents in it. Because it's not by works. If it was by works, men could say, well, I got 1,000 members and I got 50 churches. Now, that's my work. That's what made me. Then he could boast. Give me Ephesians, I believe, 2, and read just 2 verses out of that, 8 and 9, I believe.
Ephesians, the 2nd chapter, verse 8.
And follow me in the word of God, even if you're mad. If you can, you say you believe in the word, well, the reader is reading the word. Forget about me. Don't look at me. Look in the word. Forget about me. The reader is getting ready to read Ephesians, the 2nd chapter, verse 8 and verse 9. Let's hear it.
Ephesians, the 2nd chapter, verse 8.
Yeah.
For by grace are ye saved through faith.
For by grace are you saved through faith.
And that not of yourselves.
And that not of yourself. Keep yourselves out of this. God died. They don't even like to hear me say that. So God didn't die. He did die. He was put to death in the flesh. And I thank God they couldn't kill his spirit. If they could have, that would have been gone too. But he got out of that body on the cross. Thank God. And when he got out of that body, the human felt the effect of it and cried out, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Well, he had to forsake the body. Can't kill nothing God is in. So I thank God they couldn't kill the spirit, the divine. We would have been in tough trouble. They killed everything they could kill. But my God, he got up. And he said before he went to the cross, he said, destroy this temple, and in 3 days, I'll raise it up. Let's have that.
Ephesians, the 2nd chapter, verse 8.
Yes.
For by grace are ye saved through faith.
For by grace are you saved through faith. So we can't get no credit for nothing. We don't have no part nor lot in this matter. We have the mercy of the Lord. Yes.
And that not of yourselves.
And that not of yourselves.
It is the gift of God.
It is the gift of God. Thank the Lord for that. Yeah.
Ephesians, the 2nd chapter, verse 9. Not of works.
Not our works. It's not of works?
No, it's not.
My, that put those men in trouble. They're teaching the folk, you hear my work in the Lord. That won't make you no apostle. Not our works.
Lest any man should boast.
Lest any man should boast. Men, you'll never boast about any of this thing. God did it all. You've made yourself ministers, you've made yourself apostles, and none of you are even called, and one went all the way to blessedness. He was ordained by Elder Mills of Norfolk, Virginia. Next thing, he became apostle. Next thing you know, he was blessedness. Did folk call him blessedness? Yes. In their ignorance and simplicity, they called little feeble man blessedness. Gave little feeble man God's honor, and I came on and blasted it to the bone. And I kept on blasting it. Don't you give no feeble man God's honor. I don't care how you are wrapped up in them. If you do, I better not hear it no more. I don't want to hear no more blessedness. If I do, I might start walking. Is that all right? Wherever you're saying it at. And stand right out in front of your temple or whatever you have and blast you on a loudspeaker. I better not hear it no more. One person wrote me about that blessed, so-called blessedness. I told her, I said, your blessedness is going to die. And he died too. I said, but my blessedness is going to live forever. Why? He's the blessed. And the only potentate. Thank God, who only has immortality. See, her blessedness and their blessedness couldn't get immortality. They had to die mortal. They couldn't get immortality. But my blessedness reached out and snatched it. Thank God, who only has immortality dwelling in the light, which no man can approach unto, whom no man has seen nor can see.
Amen.
I'm saying now, it's not by works. It's nothing you can do. You can go out and raise up all of Whitechapel Cemetery and all Cheltenham Cemetery. Would that make you an apostle? No. Not by works. They taught you they did this and they did that. You have anything, you have a testimony that you were called of God, come to 1512, 16 North Broad Street. Let everybody hear it. Don't want to come to me and sit in a room just between you and myself. This thing wasn't done in no corner. If you're sure you have something, or you can subject to go out and tell anything. Come tell everybody. Word of God says, he that doeth truth cometh to the light. Tell everybody your testimony and let me question you about it. Then if you pull through, if you can get by me, everybody better say yes to you. But you won't get by me. Because if you were ever taught by the apostle Bishop S.C. Johnson and brought up in the church, you cannot be an apostle. Bishop preached that if you were taught by an apostle, you cannot be an apostle. Now, a lot of folk don't know this. So they tell folk about works. I don't want to hear nothing about no works. I want to know the calling. What did he say to you? Did he say John 20:21? I want to know if you were ever in the church. If you weren't in the church, then God won't use you. It has to be one from among the brethren. Now, somebody might want to know, Bishop Chooks, is all of this what you are saying debatable? Sure, it's debatable. It's debatable to the fullest extent. I'd rather not be controversial about it. But this is, I have a defense. See, they have taught you wrong, and you, all you people sat back and you're sitting back enjoying it so well. And they might even sing you 2 songs. And it feels, and it sounds so good to you because you don't know nothing, being deceived all the time. And I'm trying to preach you out of that deception. He gave some what? Apostles. So God give it. I'm in accord. What am I that I should withstand God? But you have to prove your apostleship. You can't come to my congregation and expect me to receive you without you giving us your testimony. Come and give your testimony and let me question you. Question you as much as I want to question you about it. And you do the same. You question me first about my calling. My calling is 2 Timothy 4:1. Spirit gave me a charge. Did I ever have hands laid on my head? No. They said, well, in order to be a bishop, somebody must lay hands upon you, on your head, and give you a charge. Read that. Read that. You can say anything you want, but I'm calling for Bible, chapter, and verse. He gave some apostles, and what else he gave? What else God gave?
And some prophets.
And some prophets.
And some evangelists.
So he gave more than apostles then. And some evangelists.
And some pastors.
And some pastors.
And teachers.
And teachers. So he gave more than apostles. Somebody say, he only gave apostles. This condemns you. That's it. And they want to know who in the Bible was a bishop and wasn't ordained by man and was a bishop. I told them Apollos. I've been telling them Apollos. That's the one that wasn't ordained by man. Now, they didn't know it and still don't know it and don't believe it. And they say, I'm wrong. There ain't no Bible that says Apollos was no bishop. Well, I am not wrong until you prove me wrong. By you getting up saying I'm wrong, you didn't prove nothing. You didn't prove a thing. See, if I say a man is wrong, I say there are no apostles, and none of them are called. Now, let them come and refute that. Say, I beg your pardon, Bishop Chooks, I am called. All right. Thank you very much for showing up. Now let's get down to some business. When you show up, let's get down to some business. Like I said on my broadcast, I said that there's no Bible where one was taught by the apostles and later on became an apostle. So somebody came from 22nd and Bainbridge Street. I should call his name. I told him if he give me Bible chapter and verse for one that sat under the apostles and were taught by the apostles, come get the keys to this building. So one showed up from 22nd and Bainbridge Street. Eventually, I might call his name. I think he better get here and do something, because eventually I might call his name. I've been giving him a break, but I'm tempted to call his name. So he said, I came for the keys, because you said that If you find one that was taught by, sat under the apostles and were taught by them, and later on became an apostle, you'll give the keys to the building. I said, all right, let us have him. He said, Barnabas. In other words, Barnabas sat under the apostles and were taught by the apostles, and later on became an apostle. He said he and a deacon got together and made that discovery. I said, all right, give me the Bible. Read that. Now, it's been a long time ago, he didn't read it yet. Then he went out the building without the keys to the building. Now, at that point, he should have said to me, he should have said, Bishop Tooks, and he could have included the congregation, I acknowledge my defeat, and I'm going to sit down and be taught. I acknowledge that me nor the deacon knew what we were talking about. Now, if he had been honest, but see, they're dishonest. You stop their mouth, they're going about the business. Like one came in, and after I preached, he came down front and said, I came to prove you wrong. That didn't offend me. I said, well, go on and do some proving. So he said, you said that the Lord called you to preach. And he went on to say, God never called nobody to preach but the apostles. He said, you want me to read it? I said, yes, I want you to read that. So he went on and began to start reading where the Lord ordained the apostles. I said, that's not what I want you to read. I want you to read your statement. I don't want you to read where the Lord Jesus ordained the apostles. I know more about that than he. I want you to read where God never called nobody but the apostles. All the men he called were apostles. This what I'm preaching now condemns that. Because he gave some apostles. God gave some prophets.
And some evangelists.
And God gave some evangelists.
And some pastors.
God gave some pastors.
And teachers.
And teachers. See? Now, how would you confine that? For what purpose?
Ephesians, the 4th chapter, verse 12. For the perfecting of the saints.
For the perfecting of the saints. Now, they say, if apostle is not in the church, then it's no church. Now, he gave all of this. Well, what if an apostle was in the church and God gave him a rest? Can the pastor perfect the church? The answer is yes. Can the evangelist perfect the church? Can the teacher perfect the church? The apostle was given a rest. All right. God gave a pastor. I have those three: pastor, evangelist, and teacher. Amen. That's good. That's it. I cover those three. And can one of those perfect the church? If God gave him, the answer is yes. So, well, how can the church get perfected without an apostle? How about the pastor that God gave? If God gave him, only if God gave him, can the church be perfected. Amen. That's good to know. Now, see, they don't teach you that out there. They teach you that if you don't have a live apostle in the church, you don't have no church. That's gross error. That is gross error. I say, a bishop can perfect the church. You can be saved under a bishop, a pastor, that God called. See, now they don't teach you this. They have you focusing on apostleship. 1 Corinthians 9:2. This is what they might tell you. See, this is what they might tell you. 1 Corinthians, follow me in the Word of God now. And don't ball your lips up at me, ball your lips up at the Word. I'm bringing Bible. What did that say?
1 Corinthians, the 9th chapter, verse 2.
Yeah.
If I be not an apostle unto others,
Apostle Paul told the Corinthian church, if I be not an apostle unto others,
yet doubtless I am to you.
yet doubtless I am to you.
For the seal of mine apostleship
For the seal of mine apostleship.
are ye in the Lord.
In other words, he preached them in the way of truth. Does that have anything to do with apostle being called because he preached the Corinthians into truth? Has nothing to do with it. That didn't make him no apostle. He had to be ordained an apostle. He was an apostle before he got to Corinth. Is that right? Don't use that to try to prove to the people that you can become an apostle by works. Read that again.
1 Corinthians 9th chapter, verse 2.
Good is the word of the Lord.
If I be not an apostle unto others,
If I be not an apostle unto others,
yet doubtless I am to you.
yet you shouldn't be doubting me, said the apostle. Why?
For the seal of mine apostleship are ye in
You
the
are
Lord.
some of my work in the Lord. I reached you. So why should you? Oh, that's what Apostle Paul. Why should you? But they had nothing to do. That work and none of the rest of his work had nothing to do with him becoming an apostle. He was ordained. You have to be ordained. No work. Forget about raising the dead. Let the dead stay where they are. That won't make you no apostle. Won't make you call. Won't make you nothing. That's it. So, Apostle Paul, he was ordained. God made him. Not miracles. He raised the dead too. Apostle Paul raised Eutychus. Eutychus fell out the window in the 20th chapter of Acts. While Apostle Paul was long preaching, that young man sat in the window and he sunk down in sleep. And about three stories up. If you have it, read it.
Acts the 20th chapter, verse 9.
Yeah.
And there sat in a window a certain young man
And there sat in the window a certain young man
named Eutychus,
named Eutychus,
being fallen into a deep sleep.
being fallen into a deep sleep.
And as Paul was long preaching,
And as Paul was long preaching,
he sunk down with sleep,
he sunk down with sleep. And what happened?
and fell down from the third loft,
And fell down from the third loft. It's Bible for everything, you know.
and was taken up dead.
And was taken up dead. All right? Yes.
Acts the 20th chapter, verse 10.
Yeah.
And Paul went down
And Paul went down
and fell on him,
and fell on Eutychus,
and embracing him,
and embracing him,
said,
said,
Trouble not yourself,
trouble not yourself,
for his life is in
for
him.
his life is in him. So he raised Eutychus. Did that make him an apostle? No. He was an apostle before he went to Corinth. Apostle before he went downstairs. He didn't go downstairs and go back up and say, well, I'm an apostle now. Why? I just raised Eutychus. Now let's be reasonable now, men. Quit playing games. None of you are apostles. The devil deceive you about works. You can't be nothing by no works. That's what it says? Ephesians 2 and 9? Write these scriptures down and put them in the men's face. Let's have it.
Ephesians, the second
And
chapter,
thank
verse
God
9.
that you have a man coming as bold as I am. I'm telling you what it is, and I'll meet any man walking in shoe leather, bare feet, rubber neolite. And I'm ready. Thank God for the big auditorium right down the street. I don't even need a ride to the liqueurs. I'll walk down there. If I feel good enough, I might skip down there. Let's have it.
Ephesians, the second chapter, verse 9.
Yeah.
Not of works,
Not all works. Don't mention no works to me. I'm not interested in what you did. Don't mention no works to me. Works never made me nothing. I prayed for folks, they got sick. Somebody brought somebody here on a walker, and they came down and got prayer and walked out without the walker. That didn't make me nothing. Prayed for a lot of them, and they were healed. What did that make me? That didn't make me no apostle. So quit trying to use works. You can't enter into the apostleship. The church can continue without an apostle. It did continue without an apostle. And it is continuing without an apostle. Somebody said, well, where did the church continue without an apostle? Get me Revelation, the 3rd chapter. And drop down to verse 7. I'm going to show you one church continued. And was in good shape, too. And God justified him. You better justify him, too. Revelation 3, I believe, in verse 7. Let's have it.
Revelation, the 3rd chapter, verse 7.
Yeah.
And to the angel of the church in Philadelphia write.
In Philadelphia, that's the Philadelphia that was in Asia. Write this too.
These things saith he that is holy,
These things said he that is holy,
he that is true,
he that is true.
he that hath the key of David,
That's God. He that hath the key of David.
he that openeth,
He that openeth,
and no man
and
shutteth,
God opened, no man can shut.
and shutteth,
Uh-huh.
and no man
And
openeth.
no man openeth. Yeah.
Revelations, the 3rd chapter, verse 8.
Yeah.
I know thy work.
I know thy works.
Behold,
Behold,
I have set upon thee an open door,
I have set before thee an open door,
and no man can shut it.
and no man can shut the door.
For thou hast a little strength,
For thou hast a little strength,
and hast kept my word,
and hast kept my word,
and hast not denied my name.
and hath not denied my name. And the angel of that church was a bishop, was a pastor, wasn't an apostle. Somebody said, oh, yes, it was, but tell me his name. Write to me and tell me the name of those 7 angels of the church. They weren't apostles. They were elders, bishops. So, well, John was the apostle during that time. John was on the isle that's called Patmos for the word of God and testimony of Jesus Christ. He wrote to them, but he was not there with them. He was on the isle called Patmos. He wasn't. The angels of those churches were elders, bishops. Don't say they were apostles. If you say they were apostles, I'll say like the true apostle said on one occasion, write to me and tell me their name. You have to be ordained like Apostle Paul was. No works made him nothing. Don't let these men deceive you. Give me 1 Timothy, I believe 2 and 7. Whole lot involved here. 1 Timothy, I believe I want 2 and 7. Let's see what that says.
1 Timothy, the 2nd chapter, verse 7.
Yes.
Whereunto
I
am ordained a preacher.
I am what?
I am ordained a preacher.
Oh, well, he raised Eutychus. Wasn't that sufficient? That didn't make him no preacher. I am ordained a preacher
And an apostle.
and an apostle. I told you had to be ordained, didn't I? I am ordained. Well, never heard this kind of gospel since they were born, unless they heard it from Bishop S.C. Johnson, the true apostle. All these men out there tricking them and fooling them just to get their money. Go out and get ordained, start a church, and they want some tithing. want some love offering. They want somebody to take care of their family and their wife and buy them a car, buy them a home. They're in it for fish and loaves, and none of them are called. I am not in it for that. Nobody take care of me. God, the Lord, provide for me, and always did. Church didn't feed my family. I fed thousands. I fed thousands. Every weekend, about 60 dinners. And everybody ate whether they had any money or not. And that went on for about 20 years. People didn't feed me. I fed folk. Saints and sinners. I am not in it for a living. I'm saying, read that again.
1 Timothy, the 2nd chapter, verse 7.
Yeah.
Whereunto I am ordained a preacher
You have to be ordained a preacher.
and an apostle.
You have to be ordained an apostle. That's it. I am, and it's not by works. Ephesians 2:9 again. You can't become an apostle like they are trying to do it. I have to try your apostleship. Check it out. Examine you. I'll let you examine me first. I say I was made a preacher. I heard God's audible voice. If I didn't, I want to drop dead right now. Can you say that? If you can, come on, let me examine you. You examine me first. But remember now, a pastor, a bishop, or elder can perfect the church. You can be saved under a bishop, under an elder that God made. You can be saved. Anybody say you can't be saved unless there's a live apostle in the church? Tell them to give you Bible chapter and verse, and then come to 15:12 through 16 North Berkeley and give me Bible chapter and verse. Then I give them Bible chapter and verse where you can be saved under a elder, under a bishop, without an apostle being in the church. He was there, the apostle was there, but the Lord gave him a rest. Bishop S.C. Johnson was here. I was under him for 8 years, but the Lord saw fit to give him a rest and laid the burden upon me. It's a wonderful burden too, and I'm glorying in it. What did that say?
Ephesians, the 2nd chapter, verse 9. Not of works,
Not our works, sirs,
lest any man should boast.
lest any man should boast. You'll never boast about none of this thing. The Lord died for this. You don't have no part, no lot in this. Not our works. God wants you, he would have made you a minister and gave you knowledge like he gave me. The reason why he didn't give you nothing, he didn't want you. So quit trying to deceive the world. You're not apostles. You don't even know what an apostle is. I'm telling you, folk, come out from among them. If you don't come out, well, stay there and be lost outright. But I'm going to keep on preaching what I've always been preaching. And I defy any man. Talk your big talk. Talk about me. I know you are. But you won't meet me. So that make you a biblical coward. All of you. All right, I have to sign off now. Augusta, Georgia, South Carolina, and surrounding areas. Continues to tune in to WFAM. And continues to get us on the web, all of you, all over the nation and the world. And write to us and let us know which way you're headed. Without this, you're just wasting your time in false churches. God bless you. Thank for you. More than the world can do. Yeah, the Holy Ghost and fire surely will make you true. Yeah, better thing for you. More than the world can do. Jesus Christ, my Savior, has better things for you. He has better things for you. More than the world can do. He has the Holy Ghost and fire. Surely will make you true. He has better things for you. More than the world can do. Jesus Christ, my Savior, has better things for you, better things for you. More than the world can do. You have the Holy Ghost and fire. Surely will make you true. He has better things for you. More than the world can do. Jesus Christ, my Savior, has better things for you. He has better things for you. More than the world can do. You have the Holy Ghost and fire. Surely will make you true. He has better things for you. More than the world can do. Jesus Christ, my Savior, has better things for you. He has better things for you. More than the world can do. He has the Holy Ghost and fire. Surely will make you true. He has better things for you. More than the world can do. Jesus Christ, my Savior, has better things for you. He has better things for you. More than the world can do. He has the Holy Ghost and fire. Surely will make you true. He has better things for you. More than the world can do. Jesus Christ, my Savior, has better things for you.